Hi, and thanks for tuning in to Dirtbike's 2023 video series. We always look forward to our 250 shootout, but lately, the 250 class has been getting more and more important. At several of the first rounds of the 2023 Monster Energy Supercross Series, the top 250s qualified with essentially the same times as the top 450s. Technology has closed the gap between the classes, so we expect the 2023 models to be more competitive than ever. This year, we have the GasGasMC MC250F, the Honda CRF250R, the Husqvarna FC250, the Kawasaki KX250, the KTM 250 SXF, the Suzuki RM-Z250, and the Yamaha YZ250F. The story will appear in the April 2023 print edition of Dirtbike magazine, but here's a summary of the strong points and weak points for each bike, as well as the official ranking for model year 2023. Seventh place, Suzuki RMZ250. Suzuki tapped out of the year-to-year melee of motocross bike one-upmanship. As a result, the RMZ250 is a product of kind of an earlier era. It has no electric start, no hydraulic clutch, no map switch. Suzuki does have a launch control feature, and recently, the RMZ250 comes with an aftermarket GET mapping system. It has an MSRP of $7,899. It weighs 227 pounds without fuel, and on the Pro Circuit dyno, it peaks at 39.2 horsepower at 12,440 RPM. Its strong points start off with the bike's price, which is dramatically less than any of the others. It also handles well. It turns easily and has good straight line stability. Between that and a very linear power delivery, the bike is very easy to ride, kind of makes you feel like a hero. The brakes are good, and the overall comfort level is excellent. It's a simple motorcycle by today's standard. There's no battery to be dead in the morning. Now the weak points. The biggie is that the RMZ250 has a significant disadvantage in peak output. It's more than 5 horsepower down compared to the others, and that makes it difficult to compete at any level. The suspension is also very stiff for the typical 250 rider. We also have to point out that if you stall the bike during the race, you have to kickstart, but you already knew that. The RMZ250 is a great motorcycle, but not a great racer. We love the fact that Suzuki is offering a lower priced alternative to all the others. Sixth place, GasGasMC MC250F. GasGas motocross bikes come out of the same factory as KTM's and Husqvarna's, but for 2023, the GasGasMC MC250F is completely different because it's based on an earlier platform. It's less expensive and has a number of different parts suppliers. The GasGasMC MC250F comes with Maxxis Max Cross tires. It sells for $9,199. It weighs 218 pounds without fuel, and on the Pro Circuit dyno, it produces 43.45 horsepower at 13,800 RPM. Its strong points start with the fact that it's a cushy, comfortable motorcycle that's easy to ride. This generation of the steel Austrian frame is fairly compliant. That helps the suspension do its job as well. The fork is the WP Exact Air Fork, but it's set up on the soft side, which adds to the MC250F's identity as an inviting bike for less experienced riders. It is the lightest bike in the shootout, coming in at 218 pounds. That contributes to the bike's excellent overall handling. It turns well and is very easy to manhandle. For weak points, well, contrary to what the company might like you to think, it isn't inexpensive enough to justify certain things like the lack of a map switch, the budget pipe, or the cast triple clamps. The MC250F still costs more than the Japanese motorcycles. The horsepower is softer than that of either the KTM or the Husky. Likewise, the suspension is set up soft for an aggressive rider. We admit that placing the GasGas in 6th is a little harsh, especially considering that it's so light and the motor has so much potential. In stock condition, though, it's being deliberately held back. It's a bike that could be so much more if only it were set free. Fifth place, Honda CRF250R. Last year, Honda made big changes to the CRF250R. It got the new chassis that the 450 got in 2021, and the motor was completely reconfigured. This year, then, the bike is completely unchanged. The Honda CRF250R comes with Pirelli Scorpion MX32 tires. It sells for $8,199. On the scale, it's 219 pounds without fuel. On the Pro Circuit dyno, it makes 41.7 horsepower at 12,040 RPM. For strong points, well, the Honda has excellent low-end torque. Power comes on strong and early, so you don't have to use the clutch as much as you do on the other 250s. Even when you do use the clutch, the pull is very light. Overall handling is good too. The steering is super easy, and it's very light at 219 pounds. Everyone feels comfortable on the CRF250R. The rider positioning is excellent for most riders, large or small. For weak points, well, after making such strong low-end power, the Honda goes flat at higher revs. On top, it has nothing for the KTM, Husky, or Kawasaki. The first two maps are of little use because most riders prefer the most aggressive of the three maps. We also find the suspension is difficult to dial in. The fork, in particular, is harsh on small chop and bumps. The Pirelli tires are okay on soft terrain, but less effective on hard-packed soil. 2 years ago, the Honda was held back by a motor that was all top, no bottom. Now, the motor is all torque without enough peak. Honda has all the pieces, but they have yet to meet in the same place at the same time. Fourth place, Kawasaki KX250. For 2023, Kawasaki's engineers went in and made selective changes almost in secret. The KX got new valves, a new flywheel, a new head pipe, new gear ratios, new intake, and a number of other semi-invisible changes. The KX250F comes with Dunlop MX33 tires. It sells for $8,499. It weighs 227 pounds on our scale without fuel. And on the Pro Circuit dyno, it makes 44.7 horsepower at 13,290 RPM. For strong points, the Kawasaki is faster than ever. Last year, it was the only Japanese bike that could hang with the KTM and the Husky, at least on top. This year, Kawasaki found even more power. Kawi is also a comfortable bike. In between the 4 handlebar positions and the 2 foot peg locations, it has a great deal of adjustability. We love the hydraulic clutch, which has the easiest pull of all the bikes in the Shootout. For weak points, well, even though Kawasaki made excellent progress with the motor output, it could still use a little more down low. The coupler-based mapping system is clumsy and archaic, and none of the maps stumps provided help down low. The motor is still a little raspy, with a loud bark and considerable popping. Overall, the Kawasaki doesn't inspire you with stability. This strikes us as odd because the KX450 is very well planted with the same basic chassis. The suspension is still very middle of the road. If anything, the fork is a little more harsh this year. Like Husqvarna and KTM, Kawasaki found more power this year. The KX is faster than ever, and also like the Austrians, suspension is the next frontier that Kawasaki must face to reach the top of the class. Third place, KTM 250 SXF. The newly redesigned 2023 250 SXF comes with the new frame and motor that the factory edition got last year and the Husky FC250 got this year. The basic frame geometry is unchanged, but the flex characteristics and the angle of the motor have changed, along with the bodywork. The KTM 250 SXF comes with Dunlop MX33 tires. It sells for $9,999. It weighs 226 pounds without fuel. And on the Pro Circuit dyno, it makes 45.2 horsepower at 13,120 RPM. For strong points, well, that starts with power. Like always, the KTM has great output. The new motor has more revs on top and more willing throttle response down low. Despite being slightly taller than the FC250, the KTM corners like magic. The change in the motor angle results in less suspension squat under acceleration. The brakes are excellent, and the hydraulic clutch is as good as ever. For weak points, well, the KTM has a harsh feeling on small bumps and hard edges. Part of the blame goes to the suspension and part goes to the new, more rigid chassis. The WP Exact air fork is becoming a little bit of a liability. Despite having so much adjustability, the air fork is difficult to square away. The rear suspension is completely new for 2023, but it doesn't seem to offer distinct improvement over last year. The KTM gained weight for 2023. We can forgive that because it's still not the heaviest in class. Most of the big advancement in the 250 class have been ushered in by KTM. This year is no different. The 2023 KTM 250 motor is a step forward. The rest of the bike will catch up soon. Second place, Husqvarna FC250. Everything about the Husky FC250 is new for 2023, but we've had some time to get used to it because we first saw the frame and motor in the limited edition FC250 Rockstar edition last year. Even though the frame and engine are identical to those of the KTM 250 SXF, the suspension is different. Both ends have slightly reduced travel to lower the seat height. The FC250 comes with Dunlop MX33 tires. It sells for $10,099. It weighs 227 pounds on our scale without fuel. On the Pro Circuit dyno, it produces 44.76 horsepower at 12,820 RPM. For strong points, the Husqvarna is a powerful bike. It gained power from bottom to top, and that's a huge benefit in a class where horsepower is disproportionately important. Cornering is another strong point. The geometry is the same as it was last year, but the new frame is less conducive to suspension squat, exiting turns. The reduced seat height is a universal hit, too. Even tall riders like it, and no one reported ground clearance issues. Quick shift is an effective tool, even though not everyone trusts it yet. As far as weak points, well, with the new platform, the Husky gained weight. It now weighs 227 pounds. The new frame also gives the rider a great deal of feedback from the track. This puts more of a burden on the suspension. And the WP air fork is already somewhat overworked. The overall result is that the Husky isn't especially friendly to beginners and novices. Even though the motor makes decent low-end power, it works best when you rev it, and that can be a demanding way to ride. Going in, we felt this would be the year of the Austrian bikes. With so much power and advancement, it seemed inevitable. But with big change comes big risk. It might take a year or two to sort out the FC250's new parts and see what we really have. In the meantime, we admire Husqvarna's unconventional thinking when it comes to seat height. First place, Yamaha YZ250F. No motorcycle has had so much success in pro racing as the current version of the Yamaha YZ250. The production version has had a great run as well, and it was the winner of the 2022 Dirtbike Magazine 250 Motocross Shootout. It returns unchanged for 2023. It features Yamaha's Power Tuner smartphone app for no extra charge. The YZ250F comes with Dunlop MX33 tires. It sells for $8,599. On our scale, it weighs 227 pounds without fuel, and on the Pro Circuit dyno, it makes 41.1 horsepower at 12,560 RPM. The strong points haven't really changed. The YZ250F still is on the very top of the suspension heap. Yamaha's proprietary version of the KYB coil spring fork is good on light chop and outstanding in heavy whoops. Same goes for the rear. The rougher the track, the bigger the YZ's advantage. The motor's most significant trait is its throttle response. The YZ rider gets better results with less effort. And even if you don't like the way the Yamaha runs, it can be altered easily with the Yamaha Power Tuner app, which is still the best tool in the business for consumer engine tuning. As far as weak points, the YZ is falling behind in the horsepower category. Even though the motor is responsive and fun, it gives away peak power to the Austrian bikes and to the Kawasaki. The YZ also has cramped ergonomics, especially for tall riders. As far as overall handling, the YZ doesn't feel especially agile or light. Its weight puts it right at the top of the class, and we might expect big changes from this chassis next year. Still, the bottom line is that the YZ250F is the best bike that puts all the pieces together. It might not be the fastest, but it's fast enough. While the rest of the class gets its act together in the suspension category and technology, Yamaha squeaks through with another win. Yamaha's enjoyed a long run on top of the 250 class, but the time for change has come. It still has incredible suspension, a snappy power delivery, and tuning technology that no one else can match. We hope you liked this episode of the 2023 Dirt Bike video series. We have more where that came from, and many of the bikes featured here have their own videos. For more, go to dirtbikemagazine.com or pick us up on the newsstand. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.